Hey guys, I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm so excited for this topic. We are going to talk about confrontation, communication, and ultimately forgiveness. This is a powerful one.
It's really powerful because the way that we understand forgiveness and confrontation and communication in general will actually change your life. So, if you believe that forgiveness is just stuffing your pain, then you're not going to experience it well, and it's not going to do the real work of forgiveness. So we're going to kind of dive into it, kind of define what forgiveness actually is and what it looks like and what it entails and kind of the environment.
Yeah, how to forgive, and also how to bring your pain and communicate it with someone, or how to like create healthy communication about conflict.
Right. Okay, let's get going.
Let's go. So we just want to start off by saying this, like, forgiveness is the gospel. It's freedom. It's amazing. But so often, a lot of Christians tend to just, when they think of forgiveness, they think the way to get there is, like my husband said, stuffing it or dismissing the pain or
feelings, or
just
thoughts,
saying,
or conversations.
I just need to forgive. I just need to work on my heart. I've just got bitterness in my heart. And the reason that you actually have bitterness most likely is because you're dismissing the pain. Like,
it's not because you're not forgiving. It's because your heart actually has real feelings. Your body, you have emotions that need to be dealt with and grieved, and you're not holding on to unforgiveness by
grieving,
feeling, right? Forgiveness is
so forgiveness. In order to forgive, you have to allow yourself to feel fully, to actually go through that grieving process, to release something. Jesus, when he died on the cross, God didn't, like, there had to be a sacrifice, because what happened, like, our sins weren't right. Like, we sinned against God, we sinned against each other, we sinned against ourselves, and there had to be a consequence, and Jesus took that consequence for us.
He embraced the pain. He embraced the separation with God for us. So forgiveness is releasing people
from a debt that they owe you. It's that person has done something. They have hurt you, offended you, or just literally owe you something, and you are choosing to say, you
release them from the consequence that they deserve. See, Jesus, I really like what Monica said earlier. The work on the cross that Jesus did, God sent Jesus to live, to die, to come back to life, all for forgiveness, because of love. His heart was for love.
Yeah, and the thing that I want to point out was that in forgiving, he didn't just dismiss all the pain. He actually bore all of the pain on himself. So he became the consequence.
So good.
He took on the wrath of God.
And he didn't dismiss his, like, the uncomfortable, the emotions of pain, because if you remember, Jesus, I'm really passionate about this, because this is actually really important. This is going to give you major breakthrough when you embrace this, when you come to the revelation of this. So the Lord has just released this revelation. Jesus said to God, if you could take this cup from me, if there's any other way, and this is when he was crying and there was blood. That is actually a scientifically proven, like, result of stress and anxiety. So he was experiencing the pain and death of our sin, and he didn't dismiss it. He didn't say, no, I'm going to be brave and I'm just going to take it. I just stuff this pain. I'm not afraid. He said, Jesus, is there any other way? Can you take this cup from me? If not, like, your will be done.
He was beaten, I forget what flogged or whatever, crown
to
of
the point of
thorns.
death.
Like, he took all of the consequence.
And it was painful.
So, and it was painful and it was hard. And so we all were human, and there is a process. In order to begin to walk in freedom, you've got to allow yourself to go through the process of grieving, to validate the pain that you experienced. And you're not villainizing the person, and you're not creating bitterness.
Right.
We don't want to do that, and it might feel messy, but as you go through this process, and we're going to encourage you, if you have that person in your life, as long as it is safe for you and other people, that it won't cause pain or hurt.
Yeah.
That you can actually begin to bring this pain to them and share with them. I'll give you an example. There had been a woman in my life who had caused quite a bit of trauma for me, and I had just this unresolved pain underneath it all for several years. And I would just try, like, I just need to spend more time in the Word. I just need to forgive. I need to pray more. In my prayers, I would just forgive. And this whole time, I didn't realize that I was subconsciously just completely not allowing myself to grieve, not allowing myself to go through the process of saying hey, what happened was hurtful. And you can,
when this happened, I felt this way.
And
when you did this, that it made me feel this way, and then you're sharing your heart with them. You're opening up your heart for an opportunity to
connect and reconcile. And whenever I reached out to her as best as I could, she's not someone who's close in my life anymore, but being able to bring closure to that situation, because she had no idea the pain that she had caused me, and communicating that, bringing that with her, brought so much liberation to me. I began to actually be able to be wow, I can move on from this. I can release her. I don't need to hold this anymore. And just grow and grow from that point, and experience more and more freedom. And there's layers sometimes in our journey of forgiveness. You'll forgive someone, and then you realize, oh, you have another layer to forgive, and it's a process, and it takes time, and that's okay. And grieving is a process too.
Right. And I just want to say this is also a revelation that I believe God's going to bring to you specifically. Feeling is not a sin. Grieving, being in pain, feeling depressed, what we do with feelings can become sin. But if we don't deal with the feelings, if we reject feelings as if they're sin, then that's it. It may create this situation where we sin because we didn't take care of our heart. Your feelings need to be cared for. You are precious. If a feeling was a sin, Jesus wouldn't have felt pain.
Yeah.
He wouldn't have struggled. He wouldn't have even felt tempted. Sometimes I believe Christians feel temptation is a sin. It's not. Falling into temptation, into the sin, is a sin. But being more tender towards yourself, because you realize, wow, I'm gonna struggle, and it doesn't mean I'm sinning.
Yeah. And just take a moment and think of that event, that person, the situation, the organization, whatever it is that you may have not worked through. And I want to clarify this, in the past, before actually going through this journey, I had done multiple healing retreats, inner healing stuff, and they walk you through forgiveness and all of these things, and I'm like repenting of everything, and we're not here to do that. You've probably dealt with a lot of stuff, but if there is that thing that's unresolved in your heart still, that like underlying you have pain from that, that's what we want to address. And just get a notebook and begin just raw, like writing different copies, like just get everything out. Like it can look really raw.
David prayers.
Yeah, so it can look really raw, and just like as you get the emotion, as you get everything out, write a more groomed copy of it, right? And then a more groomed copy. And as you begin to release these emotions and this pain, get to a place where you feel confident that I can talk with this person. I can share this with this person. You can even read it directly from the paper and bring them into this moment with us. And here's the thing. You are only responsible for you. You are not responsible for someone else's response. When I reached out to the woman who had hurt me, the response was to like flip it around on me in a sense. And I had to navigate through that. So it could end in like the person meets you and they're like, I am so sorry. And in repentance. And if it doesn't, your heart is clear because you've tried, you're trying, you've done all that you know to stand in forgiveness, to bring healing.
So as you're having these, as you're writing it down, and I also wanted to say, it's not wrong to text message or Facebook message someone if you don't feel confident that you can say it in a way, in a good way, like like face to face. I think, the generations before us, are like, you have to do it in person. But I really believe there's nothing wrong with writing it out and sending them a letter or like sending them a text message. Sometimes that can be a nice safety buffer. But face to face is probably really amazing as well. Like I would say it is probably maybe more impactful, but there's nothing wrong with that. I want to share real quick, if I can, sentences that will change your life when it comes to communicating to another person, your pain, your struggle. It will change your conversations because it takes accusation out of the game. So I'm going to show you two different ways of saying it. So this is how we often do it. You did this. You said that. How could you say that? How could you do that? I felt so disrespected that you would treat me that way. Why? How could you do this? Do you kind of see what's happening there? There's accusation. You know what accusation brings? Defenses. So when you're saying those things, the other person's defenses are coming up because they're like, I'm not a bad person, or whatever's being triggered in that moment. A different way to do it that's going to change your life. I'm sure you heard, there's other things that, that you do, not on purpose, because we're not always taught this. But this will change the game of communication. If you say, when this happened, I felt this way. When this was said, like, I just felt like a little boy. Like I felt like so small that like it made me want to cry. Like I remember this moment in my life where my mom said this to me, and it made me feel so small. And when this was said, like that's how I felt. And the difference between that is like when you heard me say that, did you feel drawn in and you felt like I was inviting you into this moment where like now we can connect, and it's not this like it's the difference between a wall or like inviting someone in. And the amazing thing about this is that it will change the game because it's now that person, instead of them knowing how bad they are, now they're knowing, oh wait, there's a human being on the other side, and he has feelings, she has feelings, and I want to protect those feelings, and if I want to continue to like have relationship with this person, like, wow, they're such an amazing person, they've been hurt, wow, and it gives them the opportunity to have compassion and hold your heart gently and know why now you're doing that, and it gives them the opportunity to say, oh wow, like, I know maybe like your reaction felt like unproportionate to like what I did, but wow, you have real like pain, and I can see that, and I have pain in my life that it's different, but you know, so it invites the person into knowing you more. Danny Silk actually opened this up for me and my parents, and he says, relationship is not for agreement,
it's for connection.
It's for connection. So think about when in relationship, when you come into these moments, like what will cause connection and what will cause a division. This is what, and life is full of division or connection, choices of connection or division. That's what we do when we attack someone's opinion or thoughts.
And just because there's conflict and a closer
conflict isn't bad.
Conflict's not bad.
Right.
Confrontation is not bad. Actually, the healthiest marriages, the healthiest relationships know how to navigate this well. And it's not void of conflict or confrontation.
And it's not like in confrontation, like relationship isn't void of like feeling uncomfortable in confrontation too. It's kind of this thing, like, I think, you know, some people may know how to do it really good, or like they're way too good at attacking, whatever it is. Let's not like make excuses for our, you know, our strengths or weaknesses. But you know, if you're able to enter like a moment that's really uncomfortable, like and willing to talk through it, and then in reaction you invite that person, like, oh, okay, like, and then this is called like what's it called, like when you pull them closer, you say, wow, that must have been hard. So you're attuning to that person, and you're saying, you're like, suddenly you're actually not thinking about your answer, you're thinking about, whoa, if that happened to me, I'd probably feel the same, or I can see that really was painful. Like, I may never feel that way.
So if someone even comes to you with conflict, you know, like, the healthiest way is to meet them and attune to them through it.
So you take your part out of it.
Transform your relationships. You hear them, and it might feel painful. You might feel like you have to swallow your pride, or if you mess up, you can repent and be like, I'm so sorry. I hear that was so painful.
I understand
for you.
how that would be
hard. Yeah. And
attunement
will be a game changer.
Game changer. Because it's like, that's when you're pulling them close, because you're humbling yourself and looking at their situation like, whoa, I can, like, even if you wouldn't have felt the same thing in the same situation, you can say, I can see that felt crushing to you. I can see that, like, that brought fear, like, and then, I'm so sorry that made you feel that way.
And I can give a really amazing, powerful example of this. I had this situation years ago where I felt led to the missions field, and this happened twice, actually. The first time it was my mom. My mom was like, you didn't hear God, and all this stuff, and it just created all this shame for me, because I was like, I felt disobedient if I stayed, or disobedient if I left. And so I had to navigate all of that, and I carried that for years, and I had just this, like, I wanted to forgive my mom, but I had this underlying just hurt and just deep pain in my heart, like I felt like trampled over and dismissed, and I was like accused a lot. My mom's a very like assertive person, and so I just felt so small and like such a failure. And years after this, I had gone to actually a healing retreat, and in that moment, we were doing a father heart ministry, and they had women stand in front of men who took sort of like symbolically the place of their fathers, and they were saying certain things, and when they got to the part where they said like, I'm proud of you, I'm glad that you were born, I'm glad, like I just started crying, and it's like all this emotion was just like released. And I was sharing that when I got back home with my mom, and that just led into a beautiful time of like for forgiveness, for saying, I'm so sorry, I was reacting in fear and all of this stuff, and reconciliation. And it brought so much closure.
That's a really good thing too. Like I like what you said, like when you hear someone's story, like whether everything, like whether what that person experienced was what you meant or not, like in that moment owning up to what you did do, like her mom said, like I was acting in fear and I didn't realize that it hurt you so much, like thinking of every piece, like, oh wait, I was being like too stern, like in that moment I was angry and I'm really sorry. Like owning up to what you did do is really powerful too, because it's like, it's that humility. We always want to like, no, one up, like, no, you did this. And it's not even in a mean heart. It's like, no, like you can't say that about me. It's like we get in these natural, like,
and a lot of times
it's protection.
That's because you feel so invalidated. But if you're actually going through a process of learning to validate your own heart's needs and validate other people, you're going to be able to shepherd others' hearts and your heart so much better. You like it might be hard at first, and it may be messy, but the more that you cultivate it, the more that it's going to grow, and relationships will inevitably heal, because that's drawing them closer.
Yeah.
And something that's really important is when communicating like that someone hurt you, it's important to try to stay away from always or never.
Always or never, because those are never true.
Yeah, like
it's never true that someone's always this or
never
that.
doing that. Yeah.
We said that at the same time.
When you can communicate just like calmly and be like, when you do this, I feel this way, rather than slapping on the like just immediate blame game of like you're always like on your phone, you're never listening, whatever that is for that relationship. Those are important ways to stay away from. And if someone that you're like communicating with hasn't learned healthy communication and healthy relationship like you are, create space. And like if they come at you with accusation or hurt, like create a space for attunement and be like, wow, I see that I hurt you, I'm so sorry.
That when you act healthily, it really like opens other people's heart. Sometimes you need to say, hey, if you keep talking to me like this, like I can't do this, like I'm not willing to take that kind of disrespect. And it's not because you're a bad person, but I value myself enough to say I'm not willing to be in this conversation. So when you're ready to have a loving and respectful conversation, I'm willing to have this conversation with you. That is totally loving and good, because then you're saying, like, sometimes a conversation won't get better until you just stop it in its tracks. And that's totally appropriate. And it's like, that's loving yourself to say, like, and loving the other person. Because sometimes I've even said, I can't stay in this conversation. I'm getting so frustrated that I'm gonna say something wrong. I'm getting so mad right now, and I don't want to hurt you. I don't want you to hurt me. So I have to leave right now. And you can go out of the room and come back when, like, because sometimes the tension is so high that the conversation is just not going to get better, and you're not going to resolve it.
And that doesn't mean failure. That's just an opportunity, an invitation to step into cultivating like this.
That's a healthy boundary.
Yeah, this healthy boundary, this new way of relating.
It's telling that person, like, the way the conversation is going, I don't do that. I'm not interested in doing that. So, like, and that really in the future will make them think twice about doing that again, right?
Yeah. Something I want to touch on briefly, I think this is really helpful in just being aware of. There are different communication styles.
Yeah.
Some healthy, some not healthy, most not healthy. So there is passive, and that's where you're not communicating your needs. You kind of just go with whatever, and ultimately it ends up in you kind of exploding, like
because you feel run over. You're always the one giving up your needs, your wants. You're keeping quiet. It's like you never have a problem because you're like, the other person always has problems, and I'll take care of them. I'll sacrifice all the time.
Yeah. And then there's passive aggressive, where you like don't say anything, but the aggression comes out in like rolling your eyes, or like slamming a book, or just little ways that lashing out in little ways like that.
And it doesn't even have to do with the real thing. It's just like you're taking it on them, but you didn't even express your needs.
Yeah, you haven't communicated it. And that's the thing, is that
the silent treatment, like, that's a really common one.
We can't read each other's minds, and that's something we've had to learn in marriage, or specifically me, is like,
me too.
I think women can feel that a lot, is like, oh, he should know what I'm feeling, he should know.
How could he have said that? Like, he knows that blah blah blah.
Yeah. And ultimately we can't. And so I've had to learn, like, oh, I need to communicate more. I need to speak up here. Like I need to actually
did you realize
voice
that I feel this way because of this? Like, if you could do this, maybe that would help me.
Yeah.
You know, and it's kind of like we expect each other, like, you should just know that.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, it's actually not realistic.
Yeah.
Like, it's you know, I think that's more like a Disney movie kind of situation where, like, you know, he just knows all my needs. I know all of her needs. And actually, I'm all for romance and, like, the Disney, like treating the woman of your dreams. I'm really for that. In fact, like, that's amazing. But, like, dream about this: a relationship where your friends, your parents, your wife,
your coworkers,
like, actually know what you expect, and know how to love you.
Yeah,
dream about that. That's amazing,
or
right?
The people that you're leading, if you have a ministry on your heart, like, communication is so important.
That's more amazing than expecting them to just know.
And having healthy communication, healthy expectations up front. We have had things in the past where we're like, okay, when we go forward as we build our ministries and our business, we need to communicate these expectations because we went through this. You know, I worked at a coffee shop for 4 years, and I loved it. It was great, but sometimes my boss would be like, oh, you don't need to come in today, or like, I may need you, you know, and so the expectations were really loose and unclear, and sometimes that was just like frustrating. Mm-hmm. At the time, it was when I was pregnant, so, you know, there were moments that it's like, okay, thank you, I'm glad. But that can happen really easy. Setting that with people that you're leading is, and modeling vulnerability and communication is so important. And vulnerability is, like Rémy was saying, like, showing yourself to someone, letting someone see you, and having the goal of connection, allowing them to influence you, not just getting it all out, but allowing them to love you, allowing them to meet you there. Yeah.
And sometimes you don't know that there's something wrong till you're in the situation. Mm-hmm. And that's totally okay. You're not going to know your needs. But like, you know, once you know it, to be able to like healthily and like respectfully say, hey, I was expecting this, like, and this happened. What's going on? So we can kind of talk it through and then adjust our expectations. Or like now they know your expectation and it was a good one.
Yeah.
You know?
And I just want to wrap it back around. So the communication styles, there's passive aggressive, there's aggressive. So you're just like, you're kind of like accusing, blaming, you're loud, you're using your voice, you're very sharp. And that obviously, that's going to create defensiveness and just more pain and more hurt. So that's not the most healthy. The most healthy, the one that you want to aim for, my husband has been the most amazing example for me, is assertive. So with assertive, you are communicating your own needs and respecting the other person's needs well. So you're respecting both yours and the other person's needs and boundaries well. And
both people are powerful.
And you're not being passive. You're not letting them be dismissed. You're actually voicing what you need and communicating back to that person like in a respectful way.
Yeah, and all of these types of communications, like we all lean differently towards them, and like there is a healthy version of that, right? But like, yeah, I think we can all grow and learn, and I think something to point out is like that your faults, like the things that you don't do well, is not a personality type. There's actually, we can all grow in righteousness and grow in like doing communication better, like speaking better, like doing relationship better, because it is one of the greatest commandments, is like loving others, right? It's the second greatest commandment.
Yeah.
It's like the first.
As you go forward, go do your workbook. There's going to be some great prompts, some great things for you to work through and to release with God. And, you know, it's not easy. Confrontation's not easy, no. And it doesn't feel great. But the reward is amazing. And
yes.
So we just bless you as you go out, and as you begin taking steps forward, celebrate the small victories.
Yeah.
That's huge.
And all of these tools that we're talking about will help you foster your heart into forgiveness. Mm-hmm. Will change the game when it comes to like reconciling. Mm-hmm. What Jesus came to do, to live, to die, to came to life for us. So you can see it in the Gospels, lived out in Jesus' life.
Yeah.
We love you guys.
See you soon.